So in the previous lecture, we started our subject, that is design of reinforced concrete structures. We started with the properties of concrete. What is concrete, or what are the basic components of concrete, or what is the role of these basic components in the concrete. We discussed about the admixtures. What is admixture, or what is the role of admixture in the concrete, and what are the various type of admixtures. And we discussed about the reinforced cement concrete structures. What is reinforcement, or why we need reinforcement inside, which material we are using as a reinforcement. When I asked you this question, you people were saying that steel is the most commonly used material as the reinforcement, and we discussed the reason for that. Why? Because the coefficient of thermal expansion of steel, when we use it as a reinforcement, and the coefficient of thermal expansion of concrete is also, both are almost same. So that's the main reason why we are considering steel as a reinforcement. Economy, easy of availability, easiness to get it. There are also reasons, but the main reason is the coefficient of thermal expansion of concrete and steel is actually almost same. So, and after that we discussed about the various methods for the design of reinforced concrete structures, and we discussed why we need to design reinforced concrete structure, or what is the purpose of designing a particular thing. And we discussed that there are three methods, that is working stress method, then the ultimate load method, and limit state method of design. And we discussed the difference between them, why working stress method is obsolete, why it is outdated, or what is the problem with the ultimate load method, why these two methods are replaced by limit state method of the design, which is the most commonly used method nowadays for the design of reinforced concrete structures. And after that we started our limit state method of design. I told you for the proper understanding of this method, that is limit state method of design, we should know some basics, right? So we started that limit state method of design fundamentals. We discussed what is limit state, and limit state is discussed under two headings, that is limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. Limit state of collapse is discussed under four headings: limit state of collapse flexure, limit state of collapse shear, limit state of collapse compression, limit state of collapse torsion. And the limit state of serviceability, it deals with vibration, cracks and deflections. Then after that I discussed with you, the limit state of collapse actually shows the imaginary behavior. It's actually the imaginary condition, it deals with the imaginary conditions. And limit state of serviceability deals with the real behavior of the structure. Then after that, we discussed about the load, various kind of loads acting in the structure: dead load, live load, wind load, earthquake loads. And we discussed about the load calculations. We discussed about the characteristic load acting on the structure, or characteristic load to be considered in the design of the structure, and what is the design load. What was characteristic load? You already know this, right? What is characteristic load? That load value which is having 95% of probability of not being exceeded during its lifetime. That is the characteristic load. That is a definition for the characteristic load, and we discussed in the previous class, right? And how we can obtain that characteristic load. The characteristic load, if I define it by FCK, which will be obtained by the equation FCK, that is capital FCK, is equal to Fm plus 1.65 sigma, where FCK is the characteristic load, Fm is the mean load acting in the structure, sigma is the standard deviation. And we solved one question also to determine the characteristic load which is acting on the structure. Then after calculating the characteristic load, we will not be designing it for characteristic load, we will not be designing a structure for characteristic load, we will be designing it for design loads. So we are going to consider a load value which is much higher than this characteristic load. Why? This characteristic load is defined for 95% probability, right? So there is a risk of 5%. As a designer, I am not interested in taking the risk, right now. So we are going to use a much higher load value for the design. That is called design loads. I will be getting the design loads by multiplying this characteristic load with some partial safety factor for loads, which is given in our IS code book, that is IS 456-2000. All the load factor values, or the partial safety factor for loads, are given in the table. And we discussed one table also yesterday in the previous lecture. That is the most important topic there. We consider different load combinations like dead load, live load, dead load or wind load, or dead load plus wind load or earthquake load, dead load, live load, wind load or earthquake load. And for limit state of collapse, for dead load, live load combination, partial safety factor for loads are 1.5, 1.5. Further it is 1.5, 1.5. There we have to consider for dead load 0.9 or 1.5. And when we consider all the three loads, all the four loads together, the partial safety factor for the dead load, live load, wind load or earthquake load will become 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. Right now, similarly for limit state of serviceability also, the partial safety factors are 1, 1, 1, 1, and for all the three load combinations, 1, 0.8, 0.8. So you have to remember these values and you have to keep some points there in your mind while going for calculation. If wind load and live load is, wind load and earthquake load is acting together in a structure, you have to consider the maximum of the two. And when a reversal of stresses or stability of overturning is involved in the question, you have to consider 0.9 instead of 1.5 when we consider the load combination dead load plus wind load or earthquake load. Right now, so we discussed we were discussing about these things in the previous lecture and we solved some questions also. Right? I think we can move further. Right? Sir, mixed design and fineness, Susanda. Actually, see, mixed design actually not that much important for GATE exam, right now. So, fineness of upgrades. If you want, if I'm getting time towards the end of the session, not today, in the coming lectures, if you are asking me, I'll discuss that if the time permits. Okay. Yes, those who were absent yesterday. Yes, those who were absent yesterday. I'm telling you. Yesterday in the previous lecture, we started a design of reinforced concrete structures. These are the things we discussed till yesterday's class in the previous lecture. We were discussing, we stopped about at design a load acting in the structure. So we are just moving further. We just discussed only the introduction part. Even if you are absent, no issues, you can continue attending this class. We will be discussing some important concepts today here. Okay. So in this lecture, we are going to start with our characteristic strength and design strength. In the previous lecture, we stopped at design load and characteristic load. Here in this lecture, we are starting this lecture by discussing characteristic strength and design strength. Characteristic strength and design strength of the structure. So, we discussed in the previous lecture, or we discussed about the characteristic load in the previous lecture. We discussed about the design load also. So, now we are going to discuss about the characteristic strength. So, what is characteristic strength? As per IS 456-2000, it is the strength, or it is defined as the strength below which not more than 5% of test results are expected to fall. Not more than 5% of test results, 5% of test results are expected to fall. You can compare it with the characteristic load. There it was the load which is having 95% of probability of not being exceeded. Here it is saying that the characteristic strength of the structure is defined as that strength below which not more than 5% of test results are expected to fall. I will discuss what are these things. Not more than 5% of test results. Remember these two terms. Not more than 5% of test results are expected to fall. Again, this will follow our normal, or it is assumed that this will follow the normal distribution curve, just like we discussed in the previous lecture. We will be having our frequency of occurrence in the y-axis, and here instead of load, we will be having the strength of the structure. And this is our normal distribution curve, which is a bell-shaped curve, and which is a symmetric bell-shaped curve right now. So in the middle, you will be having the, what is this? At 50% of confidence level, we will be having our mean strength. Here I am going to denote it with FM, small letter F, M. That is the mean strength of the material, right? Mean strength. Then what is characteristic strength? It is defined as that strength value below which not more than 5% of test results are expected to fall. Okay, for characteristic load it was 95%, and for characteristic strength it is defined for our 5%, right? For not more than 5% test results are expected to fall. So this value here will be our FCK, or characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. Characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. That is our FCK. Yes, in the previous lecture we discussed about the characteristic load, and I discussed with you for 95% of confidence level, this value is around 1.65 sigma. As it is a symmetric curve, for this 5% probability also, the value here will be 1.65 sigma. For 95%, it is 1.65 sigma. This 5 is remaining there. That 5 is considered here right now because it is a symmetric curve. It is 1.65 sigma. It will also be 1.65 sigma. Why? Because this point is actually at an equidistance. This distance and distances are equal. This is 45 and this is also 45. Right now. So total will be, this is 5% and total will be 95%. For 95% this value was 1.65 sigma. For 5% also this value will be 1.65 sigma. Now you can you tell me this total from here to center is Fm, right? That is mean strength. Can you give me an equation for finding this FCK value? Can you find an equation for finding this FCK value? Can you give me an equation there? Can you give an equation for finding the FCK value? And in the FCK, I want to find this, I want to determine this FCK. Right? Yes. FCK, from that figure, you can easily observe FCK, that is our characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, that is FCK is equal to, this is FCK, this much is Fm minus 1.65 sigma. That is Fm minus 1.65 sigma will give you the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. Again, it is also one of the most important equation in this chapter. FCK, that is characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, is equal to Fm minus 1.65 sigma, where FCK is the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. Characteristic compressive strength of concrete. Fm is the mean strength of the test results. We will discuss about this. Okay. Sigma is the standard deviation. Sigma is the standard deviation. Remember this equation. It's a very important equation. We have discussed about the characteristic load equation in the previous lecture. There it was FCK is equal to Fm plus 1.65 sigma. Here we are dealing with the strength of the concrete or strength of the structure is equal to FCK is equal to Fm minus 1.65 sigma. And we know the reason. If you remember this graph, the equation will become easy. Right now? So please note it down. Note down both the things. Yes, everyone is yes, very good, very good. Sir, F is the percentage of cubes. Srikanth, we are going to discuss about that. Okay, we will discuss about that. Please note it down and tell me when it is finished. So, some of you were, I think Srikanth was telling about cube test. So, I think it is necessary to discuss about how we are getting this characteristic strength of the concrete. You might have studied about this in your college days. That you remember about the cube strength test or the cube test that you might have done in concrete technology lab. See, in order to determine the characteristic strength of the concrete, I will make, suppose we have the concrete of different grades are there, we will take the concrete, and if you want to determine the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, I'll be creating some cubes of size 150 mm by 150 mm by 150 mm. This is the size of the cube which has to be taken for finding the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. 150 mm by 150 mm by 150 mm. We will be having a mold like this. We will be having a mold like this. Mold. This is the mold we have. The size of this mold is around 150 mm by 150 mm by 150 mm. What we are going to do this, we will prepare the concrete and we will pour the concrete inside. Proper the tamping or ramming will be there, and we will try to expel all the air voids from the concrete. After proper compaction, we will level the surface of the mold. This is our mold, not the cube. This is our mold. Then after 24 hours, keeping it for 24 hours, keeping the concrete inside in the mold for 24 hours, I'll take it out. After 24 hours, I'll be getting the cube like this. I'll be getting, suppose this is a cube I obtained after 24 hours. This is the cube I obtained after 24 hours. Let's say like this. Suppose this is a cube I obtained after 24 hours. And this cube, this concrete cube, I'll be taking it for curing. I'll be immersing it in water for around 28 days. After 28 days, I'll take it out of the water. After curing for around 28 days, I'll take it out, and after the surface is dried, I will test it in universal testing machine for compression. So this is actually the overall view or overall idea about the cube compression strength test. We have the size of the mold is around 150 mm by 150 mm by 150 mm. We will pour the concrete here, and after 24 hours, I'll take the cube outside, and I will keep it for curing for around 28 days. After 28 days, I will test it under universal testing machine for compression. Right now, we will be having many number of cubes. Suppose we are having cubes like C1. This is the cube number 1. We have cubes C2, C3, and like that. Suppose we are having n number of cubes to find the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. We have different number of cubes. Why? Because concrete is a heterogeneous material, right? So the strength of each cube will be different from others. Strength of the all, suppose we are creating around 10 cubes from the concrete I prepared. All the cubes, all these 10 cubes may give you different strength values. Why? Because there is always a possibility. The variation of strength will be there due to this uneven compacting or placing. These kind of things are manual. Now we are doing these things. So there is always a possibility of some variations. We cannot prepare all the 10 cubes in a similar way. So the strength will be different. So that's the reason why we are choosing different number of cubes. Otherwise we can prepare one cube and do the strength test, find the compression of the concrete. So that is not possible here. Why? Because there is always uncertainty here during the cube preparation. So that's the reason why we are considering many number of cubes. So after doing this for around n number of cubes, after 28 days of curing, suppose I'm going for the compression test in universal testing machine. Suppose F1, for example, F1 be the compressive strength of the concrete I obtained in cube number 1 after 28 days of curing, and F2 be the compressive strength of the concrete I obtained after 28 days, and again F3 be the compressive strength of the concrete cube C3, and like that Fn be the compressive strength of the concrete in the nth cube. Now, in order to find the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, we already know the equation. What is the equation? FCK is equal to Fm minus 1.65 sigma. So we need the mean of the strengths. So I am going to find the mean strength. Mean strength, that is Fm. How to find the mean strength? No need to ask, right? No need to ask, right? That is Fm is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus Fn divided by number of samples taken, right now. So sigma Fi divided by n. What is Fi? F1, F2, F3, F3, F4, F5, like that till Fn, right now, divided by n. N is the number of samples. I'll be getting the Fm values. Tell me how to calculate this sigma value. We discussed it in the previous lecture. Those who are absent, I am explaining it again. In order to determine the sigma value, there is a standard deviation. Standard deviation, that is sigma, is equal to under root sigma Fi minus Fm or Fm minus Fi. Both will give you the same results. Why? Because we are squaring it right now, divided by n. This equation is used for when number of samples are greater than or equal to 30. And when the number of samples I have taken here, when that is number of cubes, when the number of cubes are less than 30, the equation I am going to use here is sigma Fm minus Fi, the whole square, the whole divided by n minus 1, if number of samples are less than 30. So use these two equations considering the number of samples taken, find the standard deviation, put the values here, sigma and Fm, you get the value of characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. So this is the procedure we follow to find the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete. Please note it down. Standard deviation. Standard deviation means deviation of the results from the mean. Suppose the mean value is 25, right? C1 is around 23. What is the deviation from the mean? So that's the meaning of our standard deviation. 1500. I think you are talking about the cube size. Sorry. Okay. It's 150 mm. Okay. It's actually important. What is the size of the cube used for the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete? The size of the cube we are using is 150 mm by 150 mm by 150 mm or 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter. Okay. Srikanth, is it clear, Srikanth? Angit, Angit is saying that plus. What happened, Angit? I think you are talking about this maybe. Angit. Please reply, Angit, that I want this thing to be clear. That's why. See, this equation is for characteristic compressive strength. The F here is small f. F here is small f. Characteristic compressive strength is equal to characteristic mean strength and our sigma, standard deviation. Right now? It's okay, Tanbir, it's okay. Is it clear, Angit? For characteristic load, it will be Fm plus 1.65 sigma. For characteristic load, it will be Fm plus 1.65 sigma. For characteristic strength, it will be Fm minus 1.65 sigma. Okay? For characteristic load, I am repeating, for characteristic load, it will be Fm plus 1.65 sigma. For characteristic strength, it will be Fm minus 1.65 sigma. So just compare the graphs we have discussed today, in this lecture and the previous lecture. Okay? Fine. Tell me when it is finished. After noting this down, tell me. So we know how to calculate this characteristic strength. Now what is remaining? Design strength. So in the previous lecture we discussed, that is, after calculating the characteristic load, that is FCK is equal to Fm plus 1.65 sigma, where Fm is the mean load, sigma is the standard deviation. We calculated the design load for safety. Design load FD is equal to our design load FD. FD is equal to some factor of safety or partial safety factor for loads into FCK, where FCK is the characteristic load. Here similarly we have to define, or we have to find the design strength also. Design strength of the concrete, design strength, I am going to denote it with FD, small fd, is equal to the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete divided by partial safety factor for material. FD, that is design strength is equal to FCK divided by gamma m. What is FCK? FCK here is the characteristic compressive strength or characteristic compressive strength, and gamma m is the partial safety factor for material in concrete. Partial safety factor for material in concrete. Right now, here remember one thing. In order to determine the design load, we multiplied the characteristic load with some partial safety factor. That means load is overestimated in limit state method of design. Here what I am going to do, to find the design strength, we are dividing the characteristic strength with some partial safety factor, which means that for designing we are underestimating the strength of the structure, and we will overestimate the load which is going to act in the structure. Why we are doing that? As we have discussed, limit state method is a method of safety and serviceability, where when we have to consider the safety as the prime design criteria. When we consider safety, we are going to consider the design strength. We are going to underestimate the strength of the structure. We are going to overestimate the load acting on the structure, so that we will be getting a safe structure. If you are considering a much higher load, which is actually, suppose the load which is going to act on the structure is 100, but we are designing it for 500, we will be getting a safe structure, right? Because 100 is the actual load which is going to be acting in a structure, but we are designing it for 500 load, 500 kilonewton. For suppose if the load, the unit is kilonewton, the actually 100 kilonewton load will be acting in a structure, but we will be designing it for 500. So we will be getting a safe structure. So here, if the strength is this much, we will be designing it for this much. We will consider the strength up to this level. So we will be getting a safe structure. So that's the reason why we are underestimating the strength of the structure. Here we are overestimating the load value. That's the reason for design load, we are multiplying this characteristic load with some factor of safety or partial safety factor for load there. And here for design strength, we will divide the characteristic strength with some partial safety factor for material. Remember one more thing, this is partial safety factor for material, and here it is partial safety factor for loads. Our IS code, that is IS 456-2000, has given us values, or he has given a table for calculating the partial safety factor for loads. Similarly, in order to determine this partial safety factor, in order to consider this partial safety factor for material, our IS code has given us some values. Considering a limit state of collapse, if we consider limit state of collapse, the partial safety factor for concrete in the design, we have to consider it as 1.5, and for steel, we have to consider a partial safety factor of 1.15. And if I consider for limit state of serviceability, for limit state of serviceability, for concrete, the partial safety factor to be considered is 1, and for steel also it is 1. The partial safety factor for concrete, these are the material in concrete structure. Na? In concrete structure, the materials are concrete and reinforcement. For concrete, we have to consider 1.5. For steel, we have to consider 1.15 as in our limit state method of collapse. In limit state of serviceability, we have to consider the partial safety factor as 1 and 1. Right now? Yes. Please note it down. What happened? Tanbir Fatma is saying that, sir, FD is equal to FCK into gamma F. Yeah, are you talking about this? Are you talking about this, Tanbir? Okay, so you are seeing a L here, right? Gamma L or gamma F. Both actually, this is actually the representation of partial safety factor for loads. You can consider L or F here, no issues. Okay? Yes, design strength will be less than FCK. We are considering less strength. Suppose this can carry this. I am not changing the area of the material. Suppose it is, the strength of this material is around 50 Newton per mm square. But for designing, suppose it has to carry 100 kilonewton. The maximum strength it can carry is around, suppose the characteristic compressive strength is around, let's say 50 Newton per mm square. But what I am going to do is, I am going to consider a less strength value for the design. Right now, suppose I am underestimating this material, like it can carry 50, but I am going to underestimate it. I am going to consider 20 Newton per mm square. So that we will be getting a safe structure. What happened? In the design strength, okay. Noted. Sir, have you write divide, not multiplication? Here you write divide, not multiplication. See, I think it is here, na? So I told you in limit state method, strength will be underestimated. Right now, suppose if the characteristic strength is 50 and I am designing it for 100, we have to underestimate the strength of the structure. If you are designing it for 100, when the characteristic compressive strength is around 50, we will not be getting a safe structure, right? So that's the reason why we are just considering a strength value which is much lesser than this characteristic strength. For calculating the load, design load, we will consider a load value which is much higher than this characteristic load. Okay, strength is overestimated. This is a strength, we are multiplying it with some factor of safety. This is a strength, we are just dividing it with some factor of safety. Right now, you have to remember these values. It is very important. The the factor of partial safety factor for concrete as per limit state of collapse is 1.5. The the partial safety factor for steel as per limit state method of collapse is 1.15, and for as per limit state of serviceability, the partial safety factor for concrete and steel will be 1. Please note it down. I think it's done, right? So here you have written divide. I think Tanbir it's clear, I guess, right? Sir, it means area is increasing. Srikanth, actually. No. Actually, I think it's because you missed the previous lecture, I guess. We discussed about these things clearly in the previous lecture, I guess. So towards the end of the section, if the time permits, you can ask me. Otherwise, similarly, we can discuss. Okay, Srikanth? Yes, you are right. Srikanth, you are right. FCK, that is capital FCK, denoted with capital FCK, that is characteristic load, and small FCK, denoted with the characteristic strength, I denoted it with FCK, small FCK. Okay, just like I said, if you have any issues, you can just contact me. No issues are there, we'll discuss. Yes, Rudraj, again it's a wonderful question. Rudraj, were you absent yesterday in the previous lecture? We discussed actually in the previous lecture. See, it deals with the real behavior of the structure, na? I told you, this is the real behavior of the structure. For in our limit state method, for the partial safety factor for load also, we have considered 1.8. I'll tell you why we are considering 0.8 there. See, this deals with the real behavior of the structure. That's why we are considering the safety factor as 1. We will consider this FCK for the design. We can directly take this FCK for the design. Why? Because the limit state of serviceability deals with the real behavior. So this is the imaginary behavior. So limit state of collapse deals with the imaginary behavior, imaginary conditions, an imaginary condition, right now. So that's the reason why we are taking a higher values. That's the reason why we are taking one here. You can ask me, so why we have considered 1.8, then the load factor values. Why? Because when the load combination, death load, live load, wind load, earthquake load, there is actually a very less possibility that all the three loads will act together in a structure. That's the reason why we are just reducing it. 1.8. Okay. I discussed in the previous lecture also. See, I'm repeating, we have to consider one. Yes, I think it's clear, right, Ridu? Limit of serviceability always deals with the real life behavior. That's the reason why we are, real behavior of structure after constructing it. That's the reason why we are considering unit value, one value. But you can ask me why I have considered, 1.8. I have considered 0.8 in the load combination, death load, live load, wind load and earthquake load combination. Why? Because all the three loads may not be occurring in a structure together, or the probability of occurrence of all the three loads together in a structure is very less. So that's the reason why we are just reducing it. Right now, I think it's clear, right? Yes. So we can start solving some questions. Yes. It's a GATE question asked in 2006. You can start solving these questions. Everyone, I need everyone to try this question. It's a very simple question. Use your brain, okay? Superb. Yes, very good. Superb. You people are getting the concepts. I'll read the question for you. If the characteristic strength of the concrete, FCK, is defined as the strength below which not more than 50% of the test results are expected to fall, the expression for FCK in terms of mean strength FM and the standard deviation would be. See, just now we have discussed about the characteristic strength of the concrete. As we have discussed, as per the definition, characteristic strength of the concrete, that is FCK, is equal to FM minus 1.65 sigma, where FCK is the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, FM is the mean strength of the concrete, and sigma is the standard deviation. But this is as per IS 456-2000. What was the definition of characteristic compressive strength of the concrete? Here it is the frequency of occurrence, here it is the strength, right? So we will be having the curve like this. This is for our 50% confidence level. We will be having the mean strength here, and the characteristic strength is defined for 5% confidence level, or not more than 5% of test results are expected to fall. It was the characteristic compressive strength. It is as per our IS 456-2000. But here in this question, he has given that it is given that the characteristic strength of the concrete is defined as that strength value below which not more than 50% of the test results are expected to fall. This is actually the 50% of confidence level. Not more than 50% of test results are expected to fall, which means that FCK here will be coming here, that is FCK. This will be our FCK as per the thing given in the question. So as per the definition given in the question, FCK will be equal to FM. FCK will be equal to FM. So that's the reason why we are getting the answer as C. The answer will be C. Correct answer will be C. Just to confuse you, for those who are not reading the question properly, option B will be waiting for them. Option B will be waiting for them. That is FM minus 1.645 sigma. FM minus 1.645 sigma. So if you go with that option, you will be getting a wrong answer, right now. So answer here will be FCK is equal to FM. Why? Because the probability here is taken as 50%. For 50% of confidence level, FCK will be equal to FM. Those who are getting the answers, very good, it's okay. Those who are not getting the concepts, it's okay, completely fine. Understand where you are making the mistakes and learn from it. That's it. Don't be demotivated seeing others getting the correct answers. Okay, remember this. Others can get the answers. No issues. You have to learn it from here. Okay, fine. I think we can move to next question, right? Yes. So it is a question asked in 2019, and you can give me the answers. I think there is no need of explaining this question. You can give the answers within seconds. Yes, very good. Superb. Yes. I think all of you are giving me the answers. Yes. I'll read the question. I think there is no need of discussing this question here. It's very clear to you, I guess. For limit state of collapse, remember, for limit state of collapse, the partial safety factor recommended by IS 456-2000 for estimating the design strength of the concrete, concrete and reinforcement steel are respectively. So option A will be 1.15 and 1.5. Option B 1 and 1. Option C 1.5 and 1.15. Option D 1.5 and 1. So answer here is C, that is 1.5 and 1.15. Right now, as per limit state of collapse, in order to calculate the design strength, the partial safety factor to be considered for concrete is 1.5. Just now we have discussed. For concrete it is 1.15. Sorry, for steel it is 1.15. For concrete it is 1.5. Right now, see, in the exam environment, it's actually a gate question. You can remember my words. In exam environment, if you are thinking that it's very easy, just look at the options. There is actually many things are there just to trap you. See the option A, 1.15 and 1.5. See, values are same, right? For concrete it is 1.5, for steel it is 1.15. We have discussed concrete first, 1.5, for steel it is 1.15. Sometimes he will give it in differently. He will ask you what is the partial safety factor for steel and concrete. Then what will be the option? If he is asking you to find the if he is asking you the partial safety factor for steel and concrete, what will be the answer? Answer will be A. Many of the students or some of the students will not be looking at the difference. So out of excitement or out of curiosity of getting correct answer, you are going to make mistakes there. So don't consider it as an easy question. Okay. Go to option B. What is given there? 1 and 1 is there. What is 1 and 1? That is the partial safety factor for concrete and steel as per limit state of serviceability. So that answer is also correct. Right now, if limit state of serviceability is there, some persons will not be looking at that term, that is limit state of collapse. For those persons, option B will be waiting for them. And option C, of course, the correct answer. And option D, that is a combination of limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. Right now, so you have to be careful while choosing the options. In the exam environment, there is always a possibility of choosing wrong answers. Okay, right now. So be careful. Okay. Now, so you can go to the next question, and it is also a very easy question for you. For question number 1, tell me the answers, please. I think you can give me the answers within seconds. I'll read the question for you. The partial safety factor for steel in limit state of serviceability is. The partial safety factor for steel in limit state of serviceability is. Options 1.2, 1.5 and 1 and 0.8. What is the answer? Answer will be 1. Option C will be the correct answer. If 1.15 sometimes now, instead of this 1.2, you can expect 1.15 there. Why we are including 1.15 there? If the question paper setter has to trap you, he can give one more option there, that is 1.15. Why? Because it is a trap. Why? Because as per limit state of collapse, the partial safety factor for steel is around 1.15. Here he is asking for partial safety factor for steel as per limit state of serviceability. For limit state of serviceability, the partial safety factor for material, that is concrete and steel, is 1. Yes, just to confuse you, that's it. Ramesh, is it clear? So there is a question number 2 is also there. You can give me the answers. You can give me the answer for question number 2. This question number 2 is actually a bit confusing. Yes, Srikanth is asking that is for deflection. Yeah. I'm coming to that. Actually, we discussed it in the previous lecture actually. It's okay, I'll discuss it again. Those who were present, yes, very good. Yes, I need, some of you are saying B, some of you are saying C, some of you are saying A, it's no issues. That means some of you are getting wrong answers. If you are giving different answers, that means some of you are giving wrong answers. As I used to say, it is okay, it's completely fine. Understand what is the problem with this, where you are making the mistakes. Okay, Srikanth, a limit state of deflection. Okay, yes, I know. Yes. So I'll read the question here. The partial safety factor to be used in limit state of deflection for strength of the concrete is. So options are also given 1.2, 1.5, 1 and 0.8. So here he is telling that limit state of deflection. Limit state of deflection. Till now we were discussing about limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. What is this limit state of deflection? Anyone? In the previous lecture, I told you the limit state of, or I am going to consider it as LS, limit state of serviceability. A limit state of serviceability mainly deals with vibration, cracking or cracks and deflection in the structure. It mainly deals with vibrations, cracks and deflection in the structure. So that's the meaning of this. When we consider limit state of deflection, it will be automatically coming under the term limit state of serviceability. It will be coming under the term limit state of serviceability. So limit, if it is in the question it is given that limit state of deflection, which is coming in the limit state of serviceability. So we are going to consider the partial safety factor for steel as per limit state of serviceability. Answer here will be 1. Answer here will be 1. Option C will be the correct answer. Srikanth, this deflection, vibration, cracks, all these things will be considered under the term limit state of serviceability. In limit state of collapse, we will be discussing about the flexure, we will be discussing about shear, we will be discussing about torsion, we will be discussing about compression, etc. Deflection and all we are not explained or not discussed in limit state of collapse. It is discussed in our limit state of serviceability. Okay, yes, I think it's clear right now. Garai is asking, sir, you tell us concrete is, I think you are asking me, right? I think you need the answer. Sir, you tell us concrete is a heterogeneous material, but concrete is a heterogeneous material. This question is asked in WP, I think West Bengal PS exam, right? And both answers were present in the options, I guess, right? Yes, concrete is actually a heterogeneous material. You are right. If there is no reinforcement inside, I think the question it must be clear. You have to think whether they are asking for plain cement concrete or reinforced cement concrete. If you are talking about the plain cement concrete, yes. If it is RCC, it is a composite material. If it is RCC, it is composite material. Why? Because in RCC, one material is there and a different material is there of different property. The properties of these two materials are different. Though these two materials are acting together, that's why we are calling it as composite material. Suppose it is concrete and steel, composite material, right now. Then if you are talking about this plain cement concrete, it is a heterogeneous material. Why? Because the properties are different in different directions. So the materials are composed of different materials, that like aggregate, fine aggregates, cement and water together. So plain cement concrete is a heterogeneous material, and for RCC it is a composite material. It's a combination of two different materials. Okay, answer will be heterogeneous materials. Sorry, the composite material. If it is for RCC, it is composite. If it is for PCC, it is answer is what? Our heterogeneous material.